Welcome just the same. I'm in the mansion. Command center. Injured, but intact. Most everyone else is...
Let's just start.
You've got eyes. Look, we need to get this situation under control ASAP. Be ready for anything.
600, 500, as we anticipate, the U.S. absorbing what
we lost contact with 3 of our scientists in town trying to stop the outbreak. Find them, bring them home. We need brain power as much as fire.
Fresh out of warning shots.
Oh, nice boy. Extra 80 cents to fill the tank. And again, that
So, the difference between if you get a facing 25% where the tariff is 10% on a state adversary versus now.
I don't get it. I'll give that question. I mean, it's
Big gun, little gun, I'll squeeze maximum pain from whatever you get. Looks like someone wants me to blow these stinking corpses back to hell.
Compared to what you're seeing on Canada's incredibly close ally. It's not just that products are going to become more expensive, it's going to be really hard to get companies to keep their plants open if this war is an escalate.
Here we go. You gonna give me a gun or a swift kick in the balls?
Today. You're handling this well.
In recent years, President Biden did not undo some of the tariffs that Donald Trump had put into place, which is a tool that in a post-NAFTA America is fairly open to their is there a role for tariffs? And if so, what do you think?
Double points. $1 billion of stuff. $4 trillion of stuff. So it's about 100 times more extensive than the tariff that President Biden did. And it is true, you couldn't quite see the price increases from the Trump tariffs. The Biden ones even less. Many of them weren't done with consumer goods or were delayed. Here, people will see it. People are already getting notices from the businesses that deal business with that their prices are going up, but the are going to which continues. I think it's going to be the moment people figure out the global
Seeing as Vanessa King is with us now, honestly, American men would be what people care about, what they're paying every single day. A trade war, really there is no winner, according to almost every economist that I've spoken to. Because even though we're paying Canada and Mexico and China, we as Americans pay for those goods as they come into the country. So just let's look at some of these key items. Food, this is something that Americans have been struggling with for a while now. Prices at the grocery store. And we import, as you mentioned, a ton of avocados, 90% from Mexico. And the Super Bowl is just around the corner. And these are perishable items. So they have to come in every so often. That's going to go up in price. Also from Canada, grain, livestock, meat, and poultry. Another thing that we need to look at is auto parts, right? Auto parts are in particular really important because so many of the cars that are assembled in the U.S. have auto parts. From these vehicles coming right into the country, that's going to raise prices potentially by about $3,000 per vehicle. Also, wooden lumber, right? We get that from Canada. And then we get drywall components from Mexico, 70%. So when you talk about inflation, that can potentially raise the price of homes. More, any raw materials that are more expensive. Also, come from China, so that's one of the There's a key component in fertilizer called potash. We get that from Canada. About these are just commodity items, including beer, wine, bourbon,
Two on the
that
chest,
come from Mexico, Canada, and
one on the
China.
head. Spoiler, the head's all you need.
Across the board, the question is, how long will these tariffs last? That could play into it as well. Vanessa, Kim, thank you.
I think one of the big questions with all of this is how Americans will absorb this tariff, all the tariffs and right? So how are Americans feeling?
Yeah, I don't know if you see me shaking my head here. Politically, I don't get it. That's what I don't get it. Because if we take a look here, Trump tariffs on Canada, China, and Mexico, the support is 38%. And you don't have to be a mathematical genius to figure out that the 51% opposed is higher than the 38% support. Americans are saying no, no, no when it comes to these Trump tariffs. You know, there's been some things that Trump has perhaps done in his early days that are popular. I pointed those out. But this, my dear friend, is not popular at all. I've looked at a bunch of polling data, some with vague polling data, some with more specifics like this one, and in every single one, the plurality or majority opposed the Trump tariffs, and just this tiny bit right here, 38% south of 40% support, Jessica.
And so why do people appear to be against tariffs? I
Yeah.
think I know the answer, but why?
But why? You know, sometimes I like to lay up and I like to jump through them, right?
Right,
All right.
we don't like to look smart like that. Fine.
Exactly. Right. I love to look smart. It makes me look just like my mother. Look, tariffs' effect on the U.S. economy. Just 34% say they're good. Get this, 47% say bad. How about on yourself, right? Your own economy. 15% say good. 46% say bad. So you see very similar numbers on the bad effects that folks believe that the tariffs have on either the U.S. economy or their own pocketbook. So folks believe they work economically, and I think if you ask a lot of economists, they would agree with the American people on this.
And what do Americans think about Trump making this one of his top priorities in his first 100 days?
Yeah, okay. So I believe the Trump term number 2 began just 13 days ago. All right, so Trump should focus on tariffs in his first 100 days. Now, Reuters Ipsos asked this question twice. When they asked it back in November of 2024, it was 1%. Look at that. It doubled all the way to 2% in December of 2024. When just 1% or 2% of Americans believe that you should be focusing, prioritizing an issue, simply put, they want him focusing on the economy at large. They want him focusing on immigration. They don't want him focusing on tariffs. Look, Donald Trump did lay out his position on tariffs going in its election, but folks elected Donald Trump for different reasons, not for tariffs. They simply put don't want him prioritizing it, and simply put do not like his issue positions on it.
And, you know, in his mind, the way he explains it, it helps with his top priority of immigration. He also believes that ultimately it makes America more prosperous. Of course, the question, the devil's in the details. We're going to have to see if that is actually what happens. But will Americans ultimately care? I mean, Trump has famously done a lot of things that are pretty unpopular, and Americans, you know, elected him back to office.
Yeah, I think this is the big question. And the honest-to-God truth is, I don't know. But take a look at weekly Google searches for tariffs. Get this, they're up 2,400% versus a year ago. They've reached a 21-year high. There have been more searches for tariffs this week than for Taylor Swift. So when you're getting more people searching for tariffs than you are for anything related to Taylor Swift, you know the American people are paying attention. And the fact that they don't like it, and they're paying a lot of attention, and they're searching for it, to me suggests that this is a political loser. The question will be whether or not folks like Trump for it, but they ain't going to reward him for it. Much better chance to civilize than reward.
It will be interesting to see here into the
Anything very dramatic. We put tariffs on, they owe us a lot of money. They're going to pay. They have short term, some little pain, but people understand that. But long term, the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country in the world.
By the way, that's not how tariffs work. They don't pay them. They're paid to the United States. That's right. CNN senior White House reporter Kevin Stack. The latest on this, and the clock is ticking to the deadline.
Yeah, it's very
president said that Americans could feel some discomfort from these tariffs.
The
Essentially,
obscurus ultilium eminent should help locate the Sentinel artifact. Of course, finding it and claiming it are two different things entirely.
Well, got a magic amulet and a shitload of bullets. What could possibly go wrong? Problems, modern solutions.
As well, things directly from Chinese manufacturers like these could really have an impact.
That's right, lads. Put your
And the
backs
president
into
says
it.
that the tariff regime
Our quarry lies beyond these so-called jewels and
asked for
nowhere.
additional tariffs from the United Kingdom and the European Union.
As sure as my name's so eligible for them to smile, a shiny headley to the lucky blighter who finds that door fast.
Will definitely happen with the European Union. Because it really took advantage of it. I think that would get them down. But the European Union it's an atrocity.
You know, by and large, Trump has enjoyed the support from Republicans on that. Those who are opposed mostly remain silent. One of the objections to that is Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky. He wrote on social media that tariffs are simply taxes. He said that this could mean less trade and higher prices. Now, he represents a state that could be directly affected by the reciprocal tariffs from Canada. They have gone after American liquor. Now, Mexico says that they will announce their own reprisals today. China says that they will file a complaint with the World Trade Organization. One of the big questions is what should Mexico actually do to have Trump ease up on these tariffs? It has never been. Breaking overnight, workers at the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, in Washington, were told to stay home this morning. The main office closed. They received an email shortly after midnight telling them, don't come in. This is the latest development on the future of USAID after both President Trump and, maybe more importantly, Elon Musk said it needed to be shut down.
It's been run by a bunch of radical lunatics, and we're getting them out. USAID, run by radical lunatics, and we're getting them out, and then we'll make a decision.
All right, let's get to CNN's Jennifer Hansler at the State Department for the latest on this. You helped break this news about the email overnight. What have you learned?
Well, John, this is just the latest in a string of developments that indicate that Trump intends to abolish the U.S. Agency for International Development. We had that notice that went out overnight to employees not to show up to headquarters. You've heard those comments from Trump. And as you noted, Musk has also demonized the U.S. Agency for International Development. He has played an outsized role on this administration's decisions on federal agencies. And he hosted a Spaces on X overnight to go after the agency, criticizing it for alleged misuse of funding. And he said that
Barricaded command center.
shut down.
Got a little
Take a
dinged
look
up.
at what else he
I'll
said.
live. See if there's anyone left to save. Body cams live.
As we got
I'll
into
be
your
by
that
then.
what we have here is not an apple with worms, but it's actually just a bowl of worms. And so at the point at which you don't really, like if you've got an apple that's got a worm, maybe you can take the worm out. You've got an bowl of worms. It's hopeless. And USID is a bowl of worms. There is no apple. And the other this you've just got to basically get rid of a little bit.
You weren't using your brain anyway.
That can provide a lot of evidence to these claims, but it is the latest signal that U.S. aid is in the administration's target. Now, Democrats say the abolishment of the agency would
We
not
lost
be
contact
legal
with 3
because
of our
it
scientists
was
in town trying to stop the outbreak.
created under statute.
Find
It's
them,
an
bring them
independent
home.
agency, and they
We
think
need
that
brain
Trump could
power
not
as
just
much as
unilaterally choose to fold it under the State Department, which is what his intention is
gone
reportedly
from
to
fuck
be.
this shit
Now,
to
the State
cautiously
Department has not
optimistic.
commented on the development, but we also see a number of other times also we reported that there was an incident involving try to access USAID, and they were trying to block them from accessing classified information, John.
Right. Jennifer Hansler for us at the State Department.
Jerk me around. You're going straight in the woods.
Keep pushing. We need to find out
Thank you
what
so
caused
much.
all this. Even if If it turns out it was us.
We set up Doge.
Yes.
How much do you think we can rip out of this wasted $6.5 trillion classified budget?
Well, I think we can do it.
Yeah!
And the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that.
Double point.
Efficiency or Doge, eliminating trillions in government spending. On the other side, you have career civil
How
servants
did you get off on this, you
standing
sadistic
at
wood
times
prick?
quite literally in his way. They're paying the price. One senior Treasury official
Wow.
suddenly resigning.
I felt like this when I earned my
after
jump
Doge
wings.
members tried to get access to the Treasury Department payment system.
My day just got
That
better.
official out of the
Theirs
way,
a whole lot
and
worse.
Doge now has access to that system. The system handles the centralization of American taxpayers send information, and it collects payments of government checks for $5 trillion every year. Tax refunds, Social Security checks, all of it. And then there was another showdown because on Saturday night, typically not a hotbed of activity for the government, two top security officials at the U.S. Agency for International Development are now on leave because they attempted to block Doge officials from gaining access to restricted systems. Sources telling CNN that Doge officials went to the USAID headquarters. They were trying to access security systems and personnel.
One ugly bug, KIA.
Their sources also confirmed to CNN that also needed access to classified information. The members of Doge threatened to call the U.S. Marshals. They were eventually able to access USAID. Didn't possible. These schemes, right? These government officials trying to
President.
stand trying to stand in the way of these fights. What are the implications? I mean, this treasury system, it's banal, but it shows information of anyone who
Well, we found out last week what happens when a radical comments to the federal government that freezing spending and absolute chaos. That we can act like this and see what exactly the federal government does. Of course, we're also ethical questions because Elon Musk is the recipient of millions of dollars contract with the United States government.
So are
So that's a huge priority of this administration. But what you're seeing is of vast layers of all these bureaucracies, because he believes, as you were saying with regard to the FBI, the government was an impediment to his agenda in the first term. How much of this is legal? How much of it is fair enough because he won an election?
Trump's White House's view is that the executive branch essentially is a business where he should be able to hire and fire whoever he wants. That is like their view, and there are obviously laws that contradict that, and they're going to challenge those in court. And you can expect to go all the way up to the court to see they're going to try to expand as much.
Oh, good. Going batshit in prison didn't affect my aim.
The other little saying it's over, she's already agreed. Trump saying
I cannot in USA stuff. Look, and I would say this: Trump was first required. He's had nominations before. I think question. That was something that to this extent. Congress cannot make an agency, no matter how independent it actually is. Part of the executive branch is essential for executive branch control. Now, Al's point, define control. Exactly, is it the top people, as case you point out to with the FBI, who appoint these top officials, or again, both Elon Musk and these people at USAID are both unelected.
but only one of them, Moscow, Bill, is power to actually make these changes. So when you're suddenly working with an idiot, that's not the condition you stand up for. You don't have the right to disobey. And what you can these folks will answer and certainly the question.
Word of warning, there may be some collateral damage.
Also, they don't move how they feel. It's just, there's a lot of people who are a lot of ways to so what is the perfect
still under the executive branch. So you're absolutely right.
Surrender is not a
executive branch does actually determine how to spend it, and that also includes.
What I wanted to inform you, I will continue informing you about it.
¿A qué va a trabajar? Bueno, primero se ponen en pausa las tarifas first. Importante.
The tariffs will be put on pause for a month. That's very important regarding security, and we will check the matter of the arms being sent from Mexico to the US. Good morning, Madam President. I wanted to ask about this subject in conversation with the Donald Trump, the US President.
I lived off scraps.
Been very intense with these dates, and he's formed the mentioned.
President Donald Trump has announced he will pause the 25% tariffs on Mexican imports. We have reporters in Mexico City and in the North Lawn of the White House. Let's go straight to CNN's Valeria Leon in Mexico City for the latest. Valeria, midnight was the deadline here where tariffs were supposed to be implemented. They're not now. Why?
So, in a surprising shift, tariffs on Mexican goods are now on pause after President Sheinbaum and President Trump reached an agreement. So rather than presenting today Mexico's response to the Trump administration tariffs, President Sheinbaum confirmed that she had a conversation with President Trump this morning, what she described as a long call of 45 minutes to talk about immigration issues and the influence that both countries have in both governments reached Mexico has agreed on deploying national guard to the U.S. border, and the Mexican president said that she from substantial tariffs from Mexican products, which Sheinbaum said that
Extraction is ready when you are, Alpha.
Mexico's economy minister, Marcelo Ebrard, will be in charge of this negotiation with U.S. government officials. Let's put the tariffs on pause for next morning, the president suggested to Trump this morning. But they agreed to pause tariffs for 1 month. Part of the agreement, she explained, has to do with the U.S. government committing to reducing the traffic on into Mexico.
Larry Leon, thanks so much. I want to turn to CNN's Kevin Liptak, who joins me now from the North Lawn at the White House. Kevin, there was also a call with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau this morning. We haven't heard of any pause there, but there is supposed to be another one this afternoon. It's just in 5 hours from the U.S. We expect another pause also applying to the
Yeah, at this point, this is only applying after that phone call with Trudeau, officials I talked to on the Canadian side were not optimistic about a last-minute freeze from these tariffs. But of course, they have scheduled this follow-up conversation at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and it remains to be seen whether Trump will extend the same 1 month pause on those 25% tariffs on Canada as he did on Mexico. One thing that we've heard from officials this morning is that the negotiations with the Mexicans that occurred throughout the weekend were going much better than the conversations were going with the Canadians. We heard that from Kevin Hassett, one of the top economists here at the White House earlier this morning. So I think the question is whether or not this is a huge surprise. We did hear from Donald Trump just last night that he didn't expect anything dramatic to come out of these telephone calls. But on the other hand, look at those numbers on the screen. The stock market, along with Donald Trump is achieving nothing more than the stock market. I think there was a sense, at least among some of his outside allies, that he was looking for an off-ramp. Now, what's the big question in this tariff battle is what exactly is Trump looking for? That has been a point of extreme frustration among Canadian and Mexican officials. What quantifiable metric did he want to see them take in order to ease off these tariffs? Just on Friday, a delegation of Canadian officials here at the White House meeting with Donald Trump borders are, they were supposed to meet around 4 p.m. Donald Trump at 4 p.m. says he wasn't looking for any concessions, so there was an incredible amount of confusion. Today, this morning, I think which is troops on the border, 10,000 troops on the border that Mexico says it will send to try and cut down on these fentanyl.
We'll see what Canada offers in their negotiations. Obviously, 10% tariffs also on China. No indications right now there. Kevin went back to those. Thanks so much. 82% of tariffs on China and have not been paused, at least at this moment. That might explain some of the market reaction in top, but not the entirety of the turnaround. Correspondent with David joins me now. Do we expect a complete rebound here?
I think investors are being cautiously optimistic. The news, obviously, of this pause on tariffs with Mexico has encouraged investors when the markets recovered just a little bit. They were down almost 2%, all of them, earlier this morning, but we see a pop, we see a recovery. But it's specific jobs, specific industries that were expected to be targeted with these tariffs. You see a mix. You see General Motors down
buckets won't catch me with my pants down.
3M, which is manufacturing, down about 1%, and Constellation Brands. This is a company, an alcohol company, that imports and exports from around the world. You see that it's still down over 2%. So investors should be about whether or not tariffs will also be paused with Canada and Mexico, two of our key trading partners. As it stands right now, tariffs are set to go into effect with Canada, 25%, and about 10% with China. And the goods that are going to be impacted for everyday Americans, you see it right there. Grain, livestock, sugar, fertilizer, lumber, oil, gas, and being targeted at about a 10% tariff coming in from Canada. And then from China, electronics, home appliances, toys, footwear, Americans, we buy about 50% of our footwear from China, so that's a significant amount. So we're waiting to see what happens, and of course, Phil, retaliatory tariffs happen. We've already heard from Canada that they're expecting to retaliate with 25% tariffs against goods that are coming out of the U.S. into Canada. We'll see, there's another call, as you mentioned, scheduled with Trudeau later this afternoon. Will there be a turnaround like there was with Mexico, Phil? Wait and see.
All right, Brett David, thanks so much. Joining me now for more on this, former Mission Congressman, and also served as U.S. Ambassador to Canada. Your biggest question right now is this the start of the turnaround, or is Donald Trump planning this? Somewhat the candidates still going to have to face these tariffs. Give me any insight to the U.S. So the basis of that is sort of hopefully it gets moved out. But you know, right, Michigan and elsewhere, cost of living, we'll go up. It's inflation there. Look, everybody is thinking about Canada and trade. Those that food. Beyond that, if we get do something, the long-term damage to our relationship with Canada has really been severe. This is not the feelings of Canadians, our best friend, our best partner, our best ally, have been really devastated. They're not only good, but and it's going to take a lot of time, many months, maybe years, to repair damage to our partnership with our trusted ally, Canada. Everyone in Canada watching this knows what I say is true. This is tragic for those Canada. And with Mexico, you don't want to treat your partners and your neighbors this way. By the way, it's disgusting.
Please tell that damn helo was on the way.
There's constant threat to the little as moving on with this policy. It is really insulting.
LG crowd, get it under control.
No
Authorizing chopper gun to close in.
Expedition. Looks pretty hairy down there.
to the foot. Let's keep that up.
The point you're making right now, when you talk to different guys like that, in Canada, what is there? I understand the internet, I understand the frustration. What are they telling you about the changing the bilateral
I mean,
You've got 30 seconds to catch that ride.
All hands on board.
Problems. Canadians they don't understand why the United States Senate is standing up to them.
Trump saying that he was going to impose tariffs on Mexico, Canada, China, 25% on Mexico and Canada, an extra 10% on China. Looks like, though, the Mexican tariffs have now been reduced just from the Mexican president a short while ago. That has now been confirmed by President Trump as well. Let's cross to our US correspondent, Mark Stone. So it seems that an agreement has been reached with Mexico. We know that the conversation's happening also with Canada today. Might that be paused as well?
Jane, truly it is hard to keep up with the news here in the US at the moment. But yes, I mean, a real interesting development. Just 24 hours after he said he would impose these extraordinary tariffs on his two neighbours, Canada to the north, Mexico to the south. They have gone away for a month at least. Why? Well, on the face of it, because Mexico is complying with Donald Trump's demands. And I wonder if this is going to become a pattern. And from Trump's perspective, he will see this as a massive, massive win. We heard from the Mexican president just now. She has released a tweet as well in which she outlines precisely the outcome of the good conversation, as she put it, with President Trump. And she says that Mexico will reinforce the northern border with the United States with 10,000 National Guard elements immediately to prevent drug trafficking from Mexico, particularly fentanyl coming into the United States. She says also that the US is committed to work to prevent the trafficking of high-powered weapons into Mexico. So
Once you're here,
ways our team begin to work today on two tracks: security and trade, and that the tariffs have been put on hold for a month, I guess a month, so that President Trump can be the judge as to whether or not what the Mexicans have said they will do, they actually follow through on. But it's worth, Jane, taking a step back and looking at what Donald Trump is trying to achieve with these tariffs that we've heard so much about. It's also worth stressing that for so long, countries have been kind of wondering whether he would follow through on these threats through the campaign. He talked about the tariffs that he would have put in place. Will he actually do it? Well, yes, it turns out he will. But there are three specific targeted tariffs to address unfair practices, either by specific industries or countries, like China. There are general tariffs, low-level, low-percentage tariffs applied across the board, across all different sectors, in order to generate revenue for the United States. These tariffs are the ones that the UK is particularly worried about. And then there are tariffs used as negotiating tools to try and get countries to do what you want them to do. And it is that third grouping of tariffs, as negotiating tools, which the Canadian and Mexican tariffs announced at the weekend. That's what they fell into. Trump saying to Canada and to Mexico, if you don't do what I tell you, then I will impose massive tariffs. And specifically for those two countries, it is all about migration and it is all about drug trafficking. So Mexico now seems to be saying, fine, we will do as much as we can, we'll do more than we've been doing hitherto. Please don't tariff us. And Trump said, okay, fine, we'll give you a month. It's more of a problem, Jane, because Canada is saying, look, very little fentanyl comes over our border into the United States. So what do you want us to do? We know that Justin Trudeau spoke to President Trump today, this morning. They're due to speak again later. But on the face of it, Trump is saying to Canada that you need to deal with the fentanyl issue. Canada's saying, well, we don't see what the problem is. We're doing as much as we can, and not much comes over the border anyway. So let's see how that goes. But it is a very interesting turn of events, and I think shows what Trump would say, that this blunt tool that he's using, tariffs, his favourite word in the dictionary, it works when you want to get countries to comply with your demands.
Well, what kind of reaction has there been from the American public, though? Because potentially they could be the one paying for this if inflation comes up. There's one estimate there, Mark, that says that households could be spending an extra equivalent of £1,000 a year if tariffs were brought in. What would you gauge reaction to be?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'd say we're trying to keep up with so much different news going on. I haven't actually gone out and spoken to many Americans at the moment, but what I can tell you is that it is obviously the case that, for example, tariffs on China, if you go into a branch of Walmart, so much of the produce in there will come from China. If he puts a massive tariff on China, then all of that is going to cost a lot more and it's going to hurt American consumers. Avocados, that's one example of a product which is imported from Mexico into the United States. Most avocados come from Mexico into the US. They are going to cost a huge amount more as a consequence of the tariffs, which have now, as we learn, been delayed by a month. Cars, American cars, yes, they're made in America, but many of the cars are made in Mexico and then brought over to America and cars put together in the United States. So those cars will cost more. If these tariffs come into place. Energy. America gets quite a bit of its energy from Canada. That would cost more. So, yes, I mean, economists pretty much across the board said that tariffs end up meaning that everyone pays a little bit more. Some a lot more than others, but prices go up.
And we begin with breaking news on the impending trade war between Canada and the US, which could begin as soon as midnight Eastern Time with tit-for-tat tariffs. As we take a live look at Washington, we are hearing from U.S. President Donald Trump that he has spoken with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau this morning about the issue, and they plan to talk again later on today, 3 p.m. Eastern. According to the Prime Minister, these are the first calls between the two leaders since Trump took office. More information on these high-stakes communications will bring comprehensive coverage on how this is all unfolding. We'll also try to answer your question about what it means.
We may have short-term some pain, but long-term, we do a good job by virtually every country.
Donald Trump taking questions from reporters last night on his way back to the White House. He was claims to justify his punishing tariffs, pointing to illegal migrants and fence off crossing the Canadian border. Trade deficits with Canada, as well as what he claims are Canadian barriers that keep out U.S. goods and services. So for more on our coverage today, we want to bring in the CBC's Janice McGregor. She's live with us from Ottawa. Hey, Janice. So the trade war technically starts tomorrow, but shots have officially been fired politically on both sides. Where do things stand right now?
Yeah, so monitoring things on a few fronts here. First, in terms of the brinkmanship, the last-minute diplomacy, for example, from the Prime Minister's office that yes, this call was supposed to be on happen, but we will speak again this afternoon. We're told that what they discussed on the first call was trade and the border. So not very much details. I'm not sure that we see them saying too much by way of negotiation in public, but for those who are hoping there might be some way back from this brink, it is definitely talking and not to be talking, and I guess we continue to monitor the situation as it goes on. Otherwise, this is very much a day to take stock of how the first volley leaked in each direction and also to keep an eye on the other front of this war, which will be, at this hour, opening up on the southern border as the Mexico president steps forward with bullets of retaliation against Americans. How that changes the calculus in terms of pressure politically on the U.S., adding to different economic levers that people are trying to use to spark attention among key American voices. We know Trade Minister Mary Ng was speaking with her Mexican counterpart late yesterday, presumably wanting to share as much intelligence as they can and understand what each is doing, even if they aren't necessarily working together on this per se. Of course, nothing short of the NASA, maybe what ultimately is on the table here, but just to stick for now to the initial list of $30 billion worth of American imports that the Canadian government released yesterday, I found it was very interesting when
President Trump's tariffs on Mexico and Canada and China go into effect at midnight as our allies to the north threaten to hit back. The CEOs of one of Canada's biggest companies is defending the tariffs. Quote, "It's about doing what's right, not what's popular. Back, but not anything good. America will shrug it off. China will decline." That is the CEO of Shopify. Ontario Premier Doug joins us now from Toronto. Doug, thanks so much for joining us. Where do you think this goes from here?
Well, hopefully, comrades will. Remember, we're a customer to the U.S. and the United States rely on us to for the products that they ship up. And I just want to build a strong end-to-end fortress, the strongest, most prosperous, safest two countries in the world, Brian. When China's cutting you off critical minerals, who has the critical minerals? Canada, Ontario. We have a high-grade nickel that we ship 50% down to the U.S. for your military and for your manufacturing and, the cobalt and not to mention 4.3 million barrels a day. Just imagine if you didn't have the 1.2 billion barrels a day coming into the U.S. But I get this by having on, Brian. We need to work together and be two strong nations, not separate.
Well, I'll tell you, just taking a little bit excerpt from President Trump's Truth Social post. It says, "We don't need anything they have. We have unlimited energy. We should make our own cars and have more lumber than we could ever use. Without the massive subsidy, Canada ceases to exist as a viable country." He takes that mindset into negotiations with Trudeau today. So what do you think happens?
Well, first of all, about the autos, we buy as many autos as we sell down there, and the ones we sell, 50% have American parts, sitting there flying since the 1960s. As for the critical minerals in the oil, you use about 21 million barrels a day. We ship 4.3 million barrels down. 60% of your energy is relied on Canada. Ontario alone keeps the lights on to 1.5 million homes in New York and Michigan and Minnesota. We just do not understand him spending time and energy on his closest friend, his treasured ally, since 1867. Like, there's more problems in the world than attacking your closest friend.
So Doug, if I was put you in that room real quick, if I was put you in that room with the president today or on the phone,
How would you resolve it?
Well, I think we're both business people. I'm a business person. He's a business person. We sit down and negotiate and look at the benefits. What's going to happen, Brian, is very simple. Inflation's going to happen in the U.S. It's going to happen in Canada. Interest rates will go up. It's like buying a pickup truck manufactured here is going to cost Americans 25% more, and vice versa. We're your allies. We're your friends. We need to build strong two nations, not friends. It benefits China. That's what it does.
All right. It was great to see you. Thanks so much for your time. Hopefully we'll try to resolve this after that.
Someone send down your rough edges.
President Trump will speak with the leaders of Canada and Mexico today after both put retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. over the weekend, or promised retaliatory tariffs. Trump is imposing a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico, and a 10% tariff on energy products from Canada, and an additional 2% tariff on China. These tariffs are set to take effect tomorrow, so we will see anything changing by then. I spoke with Vice President J.D. Vance about this on Sunday Morning Futures yesterday. Watch.
The problem with this whole idea that they're going to retaliate is they have already been taking advantage of America for decades. The retaliation is Donald Trump saying Mexico has allowed the facilitation of the illegal drug trade and illegal sex trafficking for years and has done nothing about it.
Those meat puppets with a butter knife if I had
The time starts now. We know the Chinese, of course, have stolen American manufacturing jobs for 30, 40 years, and also that they've facilitated the trafficking of illegal fentanyl in Mexico, where the drug cartels then bring into our country. We are sick of being taken advantage of.
The European Union is also vowing to respond to any...
Keep pushing. We need to find out what caused all this, even if it turns out it was us.
Well, good morning, everyone. I just want to thank you for your kind words and as well. Along with the firefighters, absolute champions.
This better not be like Apollina's Matryoshka dolls and give me a bunch of smaller ones.
David Pichini, worked with firefighters for a long time since becoming the Minister of Labor from Northumberland, Peterborough South. So great to see David and hometown gal Christine Hogarth from Etobicoke Lakeshore. It's just great to have both team members here. I'm honored to have the endorsement of the National Firefighter Association. First endorsement in more than 15 years. It's the first endorsement ever of our PC team. Ontario's firefighters are second to none. They suit up, run straight into great people. Inspiring, and I'll tell you.
Roll the dice, shot in the dark, roll like a pain in the ass.
Some of the toughest we've ever faced. Tomorrow, President Trump's carriers against Canada go into Italy. I'm just so
At least in Spec Ops, I knew what weapons I'd
I'm
deploy
so
with.
disappointed that he's chosen to walk away from the trading relationship. Now, for decades,
Got the hardware. God knows I've got the training.
On both sides of the border. I wish more.
Keep wasting those little shits on sight.
The richest, successful, safest, most secure two countries on the planet. Instead, President Trump goes to the state. Irrespective of Americans, you'll see less money in their pockets. Now, Canada has no choice. federal government has my full support for a strong and forceful response. Tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar. If Canada is going to win this fight, we need to respond together. Everything needs to be on the table. Everyone needs to share the burden. We have so much of what America needs, so much of what their economy and military depend on. Here in Ontario, that everyone in the world wants, that they use for manufacturing, they use for their military, and other critical minerals across the board. Energy and electricity, uranium, potash, and aluminum. We need to maximize our points of leverage and use them for maximum impact. Tomorrow, the LCBO, which sells nearly $1 billion worth of American beer, wine, spirits, and seltzers every year, will remove all U.S. products from its shelves and wholesale catalog. Starting today, and until U.S. tariffs are removed, Ontario is banning American companies from provincial contracts.
We are so close to recovering the Sentinel artifact. It should be somewhere in that excavation site.
Alongside our
Remember, the
$200 billion
artifact is
plan
our only hope of bringing Nexus back
and I'm
into
urging
dark
all
ether.
444 municipalities to do the same.
And a shitload
U.S.
of bullets.
businesses
Possibly go wrong.
now lose out on tens of billions of dollars.
That's progress for you.
President Trump would blame. We've gone one step further. We're ripping up our contract with Elon Musk's Starlink. Ontario wants these business with people help bent on destroying our economy. Friends, there's no sugarcoating. The coming days and weeks will be incredibly difficult. Trump's tariffs are going to devastate our economy. These tariffs will put up to 400 at risk from every sector in every region.
Emanated from the obscure Saltillium.
Everyone
I
will
believe
be impacted.
the emulate
Your support for the strong state of 4-year mandate
Keeps doing
under
that. Better
past
play something useful.
administration, I will stop at nothing to keep you safe. I will do whatever it takes to protect Ontario. I'll invest tens of billions of dollars to recruit workers for new opportunities, to retool companies for new customers, to reshore supply chains, and rebuild roads and highways
This place
to
has
create
been
new
shunned by
jobs.
locals for years.
I'll make the tough choices
The syndicate
to
of
make Ontario's economy the most competitive place to invest, create
And here's
jobs,
me without
and
my
do
umbrella.
business. That's why I'm asking for your vote on February 22nd. To build Ontario's economy, to protect workers, to keep us competitive, clean up our streets, and deliver better care. President Trump is trying to break Canada. He can divide and conquer. He doesn't know what we know. Canada is not for sale. None of us want to be in the situation as we kind of challenge before, we've always emerged stronger, more united, and more determined than ever. To the call. We will meet this moment. We will stand united. We'll stand strong together.
Nothing good is ever
Protect
down.
Ontario. Thank you so much, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you.
We will now open the floor for questions from the media. Please come to the mic and state your name and outlet. Just a reminder, it's one question and one follow-up. First question.
Name Casey with Canadian Press. Morning, Doug.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. All right.
Good.
You're making announcements about actions you're taking as premier to fight tariffs, then campaigning on those very same actions that were stated in the PCC. Are you using your government now to the election campaign?
No, I'm not going to. I'm here as premier to protect the people of Ontario. I'm going to do everything I can to protect their jobs, protect people, protect communities, protect businesses, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
On the Starlink deal, can you actually cancel the Starlink deal right now, or do you have to wait until the government is formed?
No, we haven't paid a penny. It starts in June, the contract. But I'm not going to support someone that is hell-bent on destroying our province, destroying people's families, taking jobs away from them. We're done with that. We never started this fight whatsoever, but we're going to win this fight.
Premier Sean Jack with CBC News. Just wanted to ask you about the Starlink deal as well. Is this really about poking Elon Musk in the eye and making
President Trump's friends feel pain during this process?
Well, President Trump is the only person to be blamed. Maybe Elon Musk can call his buddy, and this is one of the ramifications. This is the ramification when we stop selling $1 billion for the liquor, and that goes across the country. A lot of premiers have called me up and said they're doing exactly the same. Tim Houston is doing it, and other provinces are doing it, and I encourage them to do it. I think this is the Team Canada approach. We have to stay united, and we have to make sure that we protect, in our case, Ontario jobs and Canadian jobs. That's what this is about.
We also understand the Cabinet, prior to the dissolution of government, passed an economic action plan. To this point, you've been hesitant to release any details of that. Now that the tariffs are officially in place, will you do that? Can you tell us what is in that plan?
Well, I know Caroline Mulroney, Peter Bethlenfalvy, before the election, obviously President Treasury, Finance Minister, but we made a massive announcement with SDF funding over $1 billion.
Alpha Team, this is Chief of Security Blanchard. Are you a sight for sore eyes? I've been holed up in the mansion since yesterday trying to organize a containment response. Now that you're here, let's lock down that AO. I'll track body cams and coordinate.
And on top of that, there's $30 billion that we decided to use American companies. And no matter if we're building a hospital, we're building factories, I want to make sure that we're using Ontario steel, Canadian products, Canadian wood, Imperial wood, and I don't care if it's advised.
We lost contact with 3 of our scientists in town trying to stop the outbreak.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm encouraging all 444 municipalities to do exactly the same. We're spending $200 billion on infrastructure, building the roads. I need every single stone, every piece of gravel, every piece of rebar, every piece of highways. That's number one priority. Can't get in Ontario.
If you're full of booze, you'd be more
That's what we're going to do to protect the people of Ontario, protect jobs here, and protect
Looks like someone wants me to blow these stinking corpses back to hell.
It's funny that all this going on, so much turmoil.
Jackpot! Who fucking off?
Well, I totally disagree with
What you in particular?
LCBO, U.S. products, are making sure that all the numbers, 25 days left. This gives us a strong 4-year name to outlive and outlast the Trump administration. People want certainty.
Keep pushing.
I know
we need to find out the
international media,
even if it turns out
every single day. On Fox, and then on CNN, going back on Fox. What I'm doing is getting a message out to the American people. President Trump.
Oh yeah.
This is
I'm gonna put this thing to work.
All the turmoil going around the entire world, and he wants to spend this time and effort attacking its closest friend and his treasured ally. He wants to come after us. It's not just American people. I speak to a lot of Americans. I speak to a lot of Americans. I don't hear to hear from that. One American citizen. And that's the problem. China's the problem. Mexico stocks, Mexico stickers, shipping them up into Canada, costing $1 That's we need to protect Canada, but doesn't it make common sense?
Any day
that
now.
you want to create a
Are we waiting for these rotting meat sacks to have a change of
when
heart?
China is actually cutting off our critical minerals, and they have nowhere to go.
Fucking time
They're
someone
coming
dealt me a
to
winning
get
hand.
those critical minerals, no matter if it's cobalt or lithium or nickel and every other critical mineral that we have. We have the largest mining sector in the world. And the trade show coming, everyone in the world is coming to Ontario in the next week or so. But the kids are where the other has that shut down because of the basically handcuffed for another 2 weeks because there's no election. As we stand here, if any emergencies come, I'll reconvene the cabinet. That is not a question. But that's important. 6 years. I'm 11 to 12. Heading back there on the 20th. I'm on the phone every single day with elected officials and companies in the U.S. And again, all they're saying, this is not good. It's going to create inflation.
Middle finger of fate.
Americans poor.
Usually
This is
a middle
tax
finger.
on American citizens. That's what Donald Trump is doing to his own people. Good morning, Mark McAllister from City News. Hi, Mark. We're talking about fortress and just leading the U.S. counterparts. At what point do you think that this idea is
Way to swat that bug out.
Well, number one, I just begun, so I don't look at failure. Some people look at failure. I never give up. We never give up. We never give up as a province, as a people. We never give up as communities. We're tough as nails.
Max ammo.
And that goes a long way. And we start buying everything Canadian, and unless we call our retailers, our popular beautiful, on your shelf top, you put the Canadian flag with the product on top. Let the people decide if they're going to buy American goods or Canadian goods. We can make any good here in Canada, and if we don't make it, we will make it. Because if you can do the technology system, we're not even anything. So, we're retailers. We need to start. That should be very good across the country. Building here, sounds a lot like Trump is saying about the U.S.
Friday night, you ugly switching buckets. Ray said that thinning a herd is good for the planet. Can't argue with science.
We can start building here, and we're buying from here. It's pretty common sense. It's like business. 1, 2, 3. This is common sense, folks. You buy, you manufacture here, build in we can compete against anyone in the entire world. We have the greatest, smartest people anywhere in the world, no matter if it's a technology, or if it's the EV sector, or the life science sector, or the manufacturing sector. Just think, last year alone, because of these businesses out there, some jobs last year, we need to start building pipelines, energy east, out west, up north, to get our oil out around the world, and so we aren't reliant on the U.S. That's what we need to do. We need to broaden our base, and we're going to focus on doing it.
Good morning, Catherine from Australia. Are there going to be any policies to break this?
I think we have a great case. Broker the deal. Broker trade deal. And I think we have a very, very good case of this. Well, whatever, but I think we're going to win. This is a principle. You know, he's part of the company. He's going to destroy business. He's going to destroy businesses. Let's take it off the people.
Walk right in. Those idiots always do.
I think whatever it takes. Ontario will protect the people, protect the jobs and the communities.
Are imposed. Is that coming soon?
Looks like I get to find out.
They say we need more electricity. You know, we're an energy powerhouse around the world, leading nuclear energy anywhere in the world. We're building for small modular reactors anywhere in the world. And we're going to continue doing that. and selling it for the world.
If they didn't like me before, they really won't like me now.
So there's more countries rather than the United States. But I would love to continue doing it with the U.S. and building their fortress.
Good morning, Mr. Ford. Richard Sutton, 680 News Radio. The financial companies have founded your government's decision to move a number of Service Ontario outlets. The either the announcement made this morning, I'm wondering which
so the other outlets, those
Sending Molotov.
See
that one dead bubble? Don't let it escape.
Sorry to interrupt your miserable ship existence.
Can you tell us how 2.5 months and each
but you know, when I do golf, I always touch the ball with the thing. It's like my politics.
Hi, Emily from T with Benoit. Going back on the Staples Service Ontario, your statement says, starting today and until U.S. tariffs are removed, it's banning
Dr. Billy's here.
from provincial
My favorite egg
This
yet.
is the provincial
Not just boat smart, but street smart.
They're Canadian headquarters in Spring here in Ontario. So if I'm biased, you can't deal right now with these tariffs, and that we can save and they don't think that's part of it right now.
Calling is why I wake up in the morning.
Every single pressure on President Trump. When they start getting layoff bonuses, you know,
Extraction bird in your AR. Limited time offer.
Message down to our U.S. friends and allies. Again,
We begin with this Fox News alert. President Trump has the world's attention now. He came through on a campaign promise, hitting Canada, Mexico, and China with tariffs to protect Americans from the flow of illegal immigrants and fentanyl in this country. Mexico leaning into Trump's part of the deal. The president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, Trump and saying he will send 10 Mexican military to their side of the southern border. That's meant to assist with the border crisis left behind by the Biden-Harris administration. Trump says they've agreed to pause any tariffs for 30 days. Harris Hawk. President also and we'll talk with him again today in 2 hours. Senior White House correspondent Peter Busey. Peter, a lot of movement today.
Just in the last few minutes, Harris, we found out how much it costs to get rid of a 25% tariff for a month. The cost is 10,000 Mexican troops, and President Trump himself just went live confirming this. He's saying, I just spoke with President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico. It's a very friendly conversation wherein she agreed to immediately supply 10,000 Mexican soldiers on the border separating Mexico and the United States. These soldiers will be specifically designated to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal migrants in our country. We further agreed to immediately pause the anticipated tariff for 1 month, during which we will have negotiations headed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, and high-level representatives from Mexico. I look forward to participating in those negotiations with President Sheinbaum as we attempt to achieve a deal between our two countries. The President employed economic advisors to the shows this morning to explain that this wasn't about punishing consumers, it was about something else.
President Trump was absolutely 100% clear that this is not a trade war, this is a drug war.
there are perhaps 100,000 people last year that died of fentanyl. The fentanyl is coming in across the Mexican and Canadian borders. 80, 90, 95% of Mexicans want the drug war to end, and the same is true in Canada.
The only event on President Trump's schedule later today is an event at 3 p.m. celebrating the Stanley Cup win of the Florida Panthers. That's right around the time that we understand he's also supposed to talk to Prime Minister Trudeau. We will see if Trudeau is able to head off the tariff there for a month. We've not heard that yet. Is he also to talk to China's President Xi, who he is threatening with 10% tariffs as well? Harris?
All right, Peter, thank you so very much. There will be, as Peter's pointing out, if something doesn't get worked out with Canada's Prime Minister Trudeau and President Trump, there will be a 10% tariff on Canadian energy imports and a 25% tariff on all other Canadian imports. And there would have been on all Mexican imports at midnight. As you know, Mexico just moments ago said 30 days, give us 30 days to work this out. I'm paraphrasing, but that's effectively what's happening. There will also be an additional 10% tariff on Chinese imports. And you just heard Peter ask, so are they going to come to the table? Well, we'll see. The day is young, and there's a lot of talking going on. Steve Hilton, Fox News.
Love him or hate him, one thing is for sure, Donald Trump is ruffling a lot of feathers in many different areas in terms of policy, but in the world of tariffs, it is having a drastic impact on the markets. The precious metal market is not exempt from that, as we know, and especially with them being implemented right now. We're going to discuss not only how it affects the price of gold and silver, the real price, the price you pay, but also a larger strategic move that Trump could be making that some people feel is a genius move. We'll discuss it here as we explore. There's been a lot of talk about tariffs. There's also infiltrated a lot of this community. Many people agree with us on this topic. So one thing that I have had in the back of my mind made me wonder a bit, and that's in terms of how gold and silver can be utilized as a strategic resource for the government of the United States. Some just want to go there completely because I think there is sort of a disconnect between what is happening with tariffs and all of this gold and silver pushing in to the United States. What I understand, and it's largely the big bullion banks who are accumulating of it, I think in a sense for strategic reasons of their own, but not necessarily with regards to policy. However, that could be one of the side benefits of having gold and silver on hand in the country, that it could be resourced and maybe even purchased as a way to add to our strategic reserves and also our treasury holdings. I'll get into that in a moment. But before we get there, let's talk about gold and silver prices right now. Because when you buy gold and silver, well, right now, there's an opportunity because tariffs aren't in effect for existing inventories that bullion dealers have. In other words, if you buy a Canadian maple leaf, from a bullion dealer, likely you're not going to get charged at 25% tariff if it's on gold. It just depends on what is left in stock. Hopefully they stocked up on a lot of Canadian maple leaves or the Mexican libertans. We're going to get into that too because Canada and Mexico is kind of one of the big players right now. There's a lot of silver that comes in from Mexico, but also from Canada as well. And in terms of bullion coins, well, you see here's an example of it for both. But the Summit Metals is a channel sponsor, and they have some of these in stock. So check them out when your budget allows and when you're looking. Just keep them in mind as you shop around for the best price. Summit Metals has been competitive for prices. They don't always have the lowest price, but a lot of times they do. Worth a look. So when we think about what's happening in the markets right now with gold and silver, could there be a larger strategic initiative here in play that Trump is doing?
Hey, what is up, everybody?
Alpha
Gold
team.
and silver are at all-time highs. and my haters are at all-time mads. And gold and silver are.
And so the generator just ran out of gas. Battery's only at 54%. What do you guys think? I'm calling it, dude. I'm tired. 19 degrees right now. Buck sleeping. Night Buck. Holy, roly, poly, moly, guacamole is Will survives. And I'm stupid to do about that with another one. It's 49 degrees in here. I'll let you guys know what it is in the morning. I'm about to go to bed. Oh! It's 2 a.m. I decided to just get up and charge that it died. Oh, we called the boys back.
This is Chief of Security BLADGER. U.S. side for
What's up,
Sorai.
boys?
I've been holed up in the mansion since yesterday trying to organize a containment response. Now that you're here, let's lock down that AO. I'll track body cams and locate.
Get the fire. And that battery shouldn't get too cold. I've also got the fire going a little bit.
Molotov lit.
Hey, Grace.
Troll versus bullet. No contest.
Alright, we got some good hours left to sleep. Let's drop down to 26 in here. No.
Yeah.